This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library.
Enough, you can get the Truefire All Access Pass for as cheap as they ever do it, the $99 thing. So just jump and do that if you're looking for the best price that you can get Truefire All Access for.
I was chatting to someone who makes amps the other day, and this is not the first time I've heard this sort of thing, where people are sort of talking about the quality of what Fender amps actually are and what they are like when you open them up, and whether maybe they're overpriced for what they are. And I thought, as I was like talking to him, like, well, okay, but these to me sound absolutely fantastic. And I've kind of wanted to just talk about how I've developed a bit of a love for Fender amps, which may not be entirely rational, and maybe this is something worth talking about, but also, you know, this is not talking about the quality of the workmanship or whether these things will last or anything like that, because I don't have any of that expertise at all. I can just talk about the feeling that essentially, at this point in 2025, I've more or less got to the point where it's like, I know that if it's a Fender Deluxe Reverb or a Pro Reverb or something like that, I'll probably enjoy playing it. a lot of other stuff I'm not as interested, if I'm totally honest with you. And I think that's maybe a little bit of a problem in some regards. In other ways, I think it's kind of like a little bit of a nice release, because it's like, instead of looking at, you know, expensive two-rock amps or whatever it might be, you know, like I used to get real amp gas, but at this point, I'm quite happy with the Deluxe Reverb, to be quite honest with you. They sent me this 62 Super, which I think maybe I even prefer slightly more. But there are loads of other amps out there, and am I missing out by sort of closing my focus too narrowly on Fender? I think the answer is probably yes. Now, in that intro there, so Revv sent me the Joey Landreth signature thingy, which I actually really appreciate, and it does some things that there's no way that I'm aware of any Fender amp that I know of could do this sort of thing. Assuming that we're not talking about like odd Fender amps. I'm talking about sort of classic Fender amp designs here, really, like a Deluxe Reverb reissue. Yes, it isn't exactly the same as they made them in the 60s or whatever, but it's like the same formula, right? But that basic Fender formula is a no master volume amplifier, right? Now, at home, there is a little bit of an issue with these amplifiers, which is that, frankly, they're going to be the cleanest things going. If you have a loud studio where maybe you can make a bit more volume, then you might find these a bit more useful. Or if they're in a control room and you're not with them, again, you'll probably be able to get some really beautiful things. I don't have any idea how that pedal show are able to sit in a room with one of these on 10. Like, even with ear protection, I did a Tonex model of this the other day on 6, and I had my fingers in my ears. It was still loud. So that is the real thing that I think that folks that are relying entirely on Fender amps, like myself, are going to be missing out on, which is that actually these other amplifiers are not just clean machines. And that's, I guess, what I've found. So what started this journey, I think, was probably when I got a Fender Silverface Champ, and I plugged into that. I did have a 60s Strat that I got to borrow from my buddy Phil to play into that. But even with my normal guitars, it was just such a like clean. Lively sort of tone, and that's the thing that I find that some of these other things that I've played, so for instance, like if you Victory, you could throw that into the mix, bits and pieces, like any that I played that PRS Mark Tremonti amp, a lot of the other stuff, I played loads of Mezzo Boogies. What is missing for me is that lively clean tone, which seems to be what Fender is really, really amazing at. Two Rock is a bit more of a mid-forward voice, the ones that I've tried, but more controllable. And it's not to say that this is like the only clean sound that you'd ever need, but it is distinct, I've found, to Fender, where it's like, well, it's actually got like more life to it. There's a huge amount of dynamics. Yeah, that's what I've found, that is sort of just meant that, you know, if I was thinking that with most amplifiers that I'd ever be playing, I'd be using pedals into them anyway. What is that clean platform like? I've not found much that's better than a Fender, if anything. My buddy has a Sir Bella, Jake Loosemore, and he also had a Two Rock SSS. Those might be two candidates that do stand out for me, where it's like those are pretty Fender flavoured anyway. But, you know, if you have to pay, so I think a Sir Bella Reverb is about 2,300 if you can even get them anymore, because they got discontinued. And what else? The Two-Rock Silverstream Sterling is like 5-6 grand for a clean amp. And what I like about Fender, on the other hand, is that they're so ubiquitous that you can, you know, fairly reliably find used versions of these amps for, you know, this was 850, you know, maybe around 950, 1000. Fairly reliably find these things which have not been kind of gigged to death. The other thing which I think backs up what some of the Fender naysayers have said, in my experience, like, these do make quite a bit of noise. Like, they're not quiet amplifiers at all. So that is the one thing that I've found. There are plenty of other amplifiers out there, like that Cerbella, like the Two-Rock, that don't make like lots of noises. I mean, let me try my see if this is the case. I'm going to turn the Pro Reverb on. So this is the issue that I've found as well. So like, this is a, well, I don't know if it's going to do what I'm expecting. Right, so obviously that's a noisy pot, right? And then there's just an amount of background noise that comes along for the ride. This is without anything plugged in. And that's also similar to what I found with the more modern reissues. So generally this doesn't actually come across in recordings, is what I've found. For whatever reason, I think it's because the actual signal is going to be relatively loud compared to this, but there's a reverb tank. This is on 6. That's not too bad today. That's on 10. That's on 10. So actually, relative to how loud I know these amps get if on these volumes, potentially they're not crazy noisy. But for example, I think like a Two-Rock would be kind of quieter than that. And I've had certainly like Mezzo Boogies, which on some of the drive settings would be quieter than that as well. So those are the kind of, I think, in the modern amps, indicator that maybe they're not super high quality, or not like boutique quality. But to me, I don't think you can argue with the tones of them. So that's kind of like a little bit of a video looking at that, because I don't want to like entirely miss out on tonal exploration just because I've found something that works and be totally ignorant. Like, for example, if I wanted drive tones from the amp itself, like that Revv, or this is a Rift Lightning, Mattress Lightning clone, you know, comparative levels of gain that are just not going to be within the realms of possibility on that Fender, as well as, you know, things with master volumes or additional sort of bits of tech that are just not going to be found in a Fender amp. So it's kind of about knowing that my ideal gigging amplifier might be a Fender, but it doesn't mean that I need to close off entirely my thoughts to other amps out there. I think it is definitely something I've noticed happen to me, because I've just stopped looking around at other amps and what's going on in the amp world. Just content that the Fender amps kind of work totally. Yeah, I thought I should talk about it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and email me if you want me to demo your amp.